We'll call this meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, do we have a quorum?
We do. We have 7 present and 0 absent.
We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening, July 22nd, meeting of the Faribault Public School Board. First on the agenda, as always, is the approval of the agenda. Any,
Just
do you
one
want me to make
introduction.
that correction right now?
No, I think we can make that correction, but just one quick introduction too. We do have a couple of interpreters here today. Jennifer David is going to be interpreting for us, as well as Katie Dinan. So we welcome them for us. The only other correction I have is on the attachment, and that
Yes.
was.
Why don't you go ahead and tell us that?
Yep. The attachment on Roman numeral 10E, you have to actually go into the attachment when you look at it. We had social workers written in there and we forgot to change that. That should be support services.
As per our discussion
Yeah.
work session last week.
Yeah, I apologize for that.
All right, any other comments or questions on the agenda before we approve it? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Recognitions and awards. I don't see any here tonight. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So we can move along to community comment. So next is community comment. This is a time for any members of the community to step forward and speak to the board. There is a 3-minute limit per speaker and a 15-minute limit per topic. The only rules are that we want to ensure that at all times speakers are respectful towards all members of the community and members of the board and members of the district. So with that, any community members who would like to come forward and speak at this time?
Well, my name is Mike. I have a little concern over the school years. I had requests for an interpreter prior for like school events. Like 2 months in advance, and there was no interpreter provided for the event, till the day of the event. And I would just suggest that we put it on the file in the school, in Roman, it says, do you have a quota, which is the child of a deaf and adult, in the files, that way they don't have to, the parents don't have to get a hold of them to say, hey, we need an interpreter for this event. It's already on the file.
Okay, thank you. Any other community comments at this time? All right, seeing none, we'll move along with the agenda. Next up is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is not a debatable item, but any board member can request to have any item removed from the consent agenda to allow it to be discussed. Any requests for removal at this time? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Mr. Clerk, would you please do a roll call?
I'll vote aye. Tom Casper.
Aye.
Deb Davis.
Aye.
Yvette Marthaler.
Aye.
Richard Olson.
Aye.
Jerry Robichaud. Jason Ingrid.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, it's 7-0 in favor.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, curriculum. We have a curriculum committee report from Colleen Carnudo this evening.
All right, thank you. In fact, we just left our Curriculum Advisory Committee meeting. Tonight we had Margaret Gare, the principal of ALC, come and speak to us about her the Targeted Service Program and the STEAM program. She did put in a proposal, which she'll be bringing to the board sooner or later, about needing some curriculum to continue that program throughout the school year. And she really went back and reviewed, the need for it, and really looked and shared with the program ideas and where it might be headed in the future. And that was pretty much most of our curriculum meeting, other than the fact that we are changing our curriculum meeting time. The dates will be publicized. We are changing it to a Monday prior to the board work session, that Monday prior to, and it will start at 3:30. And so that is probably the two things that we did this evening. Is there anything you wanted to say, Tom? I think that covers most of it,
Well,
though.
just to echo what you said, Margaret, or Ms. Gare, made an excellent, in my opinion, presentation about the STEAM program and how Targeted Services was using that experience to make plans for the coming school year and hopes for an expanded STEAM program next year. And I was reminded that the STEAM program will continue until August 1st, I believe.
Yes.
Thursday, August 1st, and should anyone desire to visit that program, it's been recommended to me to come between 10:30 and 11:30 to see all the good stuff that's happening.
Just a reminder, it is completed on August 1st, and it runs Monday through Thursday. So if you're going to come, please come soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. Next, we move on to policy. My understanding is there was no policy committee meeting.
Correct.
Is that right? So there's no report on that. We have no policies in front of us for first reading, but we have a number of policies in front of us this evening for second reading. So I'll give you a moment to look at those. They are Policy 524, Internet Acceptable Use and Safety Policy. Policy 902. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong policies. Those are the rescission ones. Here we go. Policy 524, Technology Acceptable Use Policy. Policy 902, Use of School Facilities and Equipment. Policy 515, Protection and Privacy of Pupil Records. Policy 515, Form for Protection and Privacy of Pupil Records. Policy 413, Harassment and Violence. Policy 401, Equal Employment Opportunity. I would be happy to entertain a motion to approve all of these policies at once and then open them all up for discussion.
I would make a motion to approve all the policies as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the mentioned policies in one motion. Any questions or comments on any of these policies?
Were most of these changes in language to be current?
Go ahead.
Well, it's been a couple months here. Most of them there were a couple though where we had to update it with the technology acceptable policy that required an update, I think, to accommodate just our program and development.
Yep. In the 902, the use of facilities and equipment, we made sure everybody was on the same page. We had groups come in and talk about the charges and what should be charged, what shouldn't be charged, and we were able to find a resolution for that as well.
And community ed is doing all the scheduling,
Yep.
facilities as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Any more questions on any of those policies? All right, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We then need to consider rescission of a number of policies which have just been replaced, so we'll read through those. Consider the rescission of the following policies. Policy 524, Internet Acceptable Use and Safety Policy. Policy 902, Use of School Facilities and Equipment, dated 4/22/13. Policy 1004.1, Use of School Facilities and Equipment, adopted 10/15/07. Policy 515, Protection and Privacy of Pupil Records, adopted 1/23/12. Policy 413, Harassment and Violence, adopted 12/13/10. And finally, Policy 401, Equal Employment Opportunity, adopted 5/18/09. I'll entertain a motion to rescind these policies.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to rescind the named policies. Any further discussion on those? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you all. Next, we move on to item 8, finance, starting with the finance committee report. Ms.
That has
Treasurer.
to be Howard or Richard. I was not there.
Go ahead, Howard.
I think most of the things are coming up on the agenda, but we did have a good discussion with the rest of the committee that are not board members regarding some of the add-backs and proposed additions to our recommendation for the levy. So I think the discussion solidified our thoughts on that.
All right, any questions for Howard? All right, hearing none, we have a number of items recommended by the Finance Committee for board approval. Starting with item number 1, Faribault High School parking lot security agreement with Twin City Security. Does anyone want to speak to that?
Yeah, we do. We're proposing to increase the fee from $30 to $40 per semester. And the fee hasn't increased since, it's been 1996, I think it was the last time that it increased. So in order to cover our costs for our security, we need to increase the fee a little bit.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any further questions on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is the purchases of service agreements with Nerstrand's Charter School. Todd, do you want to say a little bit about that?
Sure, and if you have more questions, you can certainly talk to Cheryl too. These are our contract hours that we have with our occupational therapist, our physical therapist, and our autism specialist consultant. They go out to Nerstrand to service these students that need these services.
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move.
And a second.
Second.
I like Kathy sort that out.
Richard speaks faster than I do.
Any further questions on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Purchase of services agreement with the Discovery School.
Same
Same
thing,
thing.
yep, if, again, if you have questions of Cheryl, she'd be more than happy to answer those, but again, it's special education services or related services for our, friends at the Discovery Charter School.
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor, any further questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is a purchase of services agreement with Cannon River STEM Charter School. I think same sort of thing here.
Yeah, this is with our nurse, and again, if you have questions with Cheryl, certainly ask those questions, but we do provide a nursing service for STEM school that was requested by the STEM school last year, and we have helped out by providing some services for oversight.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second?
A motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, Minnesota State Academy's Orientation and Mobility Services Agreement. Would you like to comment on that, Todd? I think this one is a little different.
A little different, and actually, maybe I will have, if you don't mind, I think I'll have Cheryl approach this one.
Evening. Every year we have students who need vision services in our schools, and we contract for those services. And one of the services that State Academies provides us is orientation and mobility training for our students with low vision. And this is the contract that is provided to us from the State Academies for those services. And it's approximately the same, stayed pretty stable over the last few years.
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Was I fast?
You were fast, Richard.
Okay.
Got a motion and a second to approve. Any further
For
discussion?
the end, Richard.
Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now on to item number 6, addition of 3 FTE paraprofessionals at the elementary level.
And certainly Howard or Richard can talk about this too. We talked about this at the Finance Committee, and we did not add back 12 staff members at the elementary school, which will result this year in some large class sizes at the 4th and 5th grade. The principals have requested asked for 3 paraprofessionals at about 3.5 hours apiece. It's not a lot, but it will help relieve some of the stress by some of those large classes. And it would fit within the parameters financially of the $300 board-approved levy if that passes too.
So Todd, can I clarify, this describes them as 3.0 FTE, which stands for full-time
Yeah.
equivalent. So is that not quite true?
That's not quite true. It's
It's 3 staff each
at 3.5. That's
at
correct.
3.5 hours, so it's more like maybe roughly 1.5 FTE.
Yeah. Yep, that's correct.
Is the request.
Yeah, that's good.
I think this was kind of a Band-Aid approach, wasn't it? Long-term solution,
We're hoping that that's a Band-Aid approach, yeah.
rather than a long-term
Right,
solution.
rather than long-term
But
solution.
It certainly doesn't take up the place of having enough teachers to have smaller class sizes. But I think with the money we had available this year, this was what we wanted to do.
Any further discussion? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the additional hiring of 3 part-time paraprofessionals at the elementary level. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
All right, let's do a roll call. Mr. Clerk, would you please do a roll call?
I'll vote aye. Tom Casper,
Aye.
Deb Davis,
Aye.
Yvette Marthaler,
Aye.
Richard Olson,
No.
Jerry Robichaud,
Aye.
and President Ingrid.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, 6-1 in favor.
All right. Next, the addition of 3.0 FTE response to intervention paraprofessionals. So can I start by asking the clarifying question, is that actually 3 FTE?
These are actually 3 full-time FTEs,
Okay.
yes.
All right, would you like to say a little bit about these? And
Sure, I'll start, but I might ask Colleen and Cheryl to come up and help with the explanation. We are implementing response to intervention services for our elementary students next year, and one of the key components is to be able to implement the program by using paraprofessional help. And I'm going to have maybe Cheryl clear up the funding and where the source of the revenue comes from as a result of being able to do this.
Each year, we can reserve up to 15% of our special education federal dollars for other early intervention services for students. That includes students in the general education population. We can shift that 15%, up to 15%, to be used for direct services to students and professional development related to that intervention services that we provide. In our quest for implementing RTI in a more systematic way, Colleen and I have been working with the Problem Solving Advisory all year to develop a plan to move forward more in depth and more systematically with our response to the needs of our students throughout the whole system at the elementary level. And the early intervening services dollars need to be really targeted toward our K through 2 population. We can go beyond that, but most of the dollars need to go toward that population. So what we have proposed is that with the change in our elementary schedule, we're going to more of a block schedule of grade levels having the same time, teaching reading at the same time across that grade level, so that all interventionists can push in and do their intervention with students at the same time, allowing for very small intensive groups of intervention to happen for all levels of learners, from your very very low learners that are very behind to actually our higher level learners that need that enrichment time as well. So by putting this plan in place, we also need support, and the paraprofessionals, one at each elementary building, will allow that support to happen, because we need to take lots of data on students and their achievement, and those paraprofessionals will allow that to happen, that they will help and be trained to provide that service directly with students. And they also will be providing some of the intervention that's going to take place, as well as some of the instruction will take place by the elementary teachers, Title I or ESL instructors as well.
What's kind of the proportion of time they spend assisting the teachers versus collecting data?
Well, we don't really have a breakdown, I don't think, at this time of how much time the paraprofessionals will be with students directly, but most of their time needs to be with students directly. Even if they're assisting teachers, they're really assisting the students. They're working with the students. The teachers would be training them. The teachers would be implementing the instruction first, and then the paraprofessionals would be helping with that intervention, the follow-up that needs that extra practice, that intensity of practice that needs to happen on a daily basis for that intervention over a period of time, and then they would also help to take that data. So most of their time has to be with students.
They're taking the data while they're with the students?
While they're with students, right. They would be providing the intervention, and then on a weekly, or depending on the intervention, the frequency would be determined how much time they would need to test the student or to evaluate how that intervention is working. And then, so that time, that small portion of time would be on the evaluation of the intervention and gathering that data.
Did I understand you to say that these positions are being funded out of already existing special ed funding? So
Correct.
This is not
Correct. It's not coming from the general fund, it's coming from set-aside dollars that we can set aside from, and has already been approved by the state for us to do this. We have to do that as part of our application process, which we did, and we have up to 15%.
Just double checking my understanding. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we are on to item 8C, the budget. We do not have an enrollment report during the month of July, nor a financial report during the month of July. Consider approval of gifts and donations. We have a few gifts to the school district tonight to accept. Starting with the Faribault Soccer Association in the amount of $12,900 to pay for soccer field lights. From the Booster Club, $4,720 from a Bliss Ford test drive event, which is a donation for the Faribault High School. From the Faribault Foundation, $5.34 enrichment donation. I don't understand that one. Okay. Wells Fargo Foundation Educational Matching Gift Program, $35. A donation for the Faribault Middle School Media Center. As always, we thank all those in the community who step forward to support the schools, and we thank you for these gifts.
Mr. Chair, is that a right figure in line 3?
I don't know. That's,
That might just be the remainder
It
from the
is?
program that they.
might just been a leftover account or something like that, and yeah. It says from Fit Girls, so I wonder if the Fit Girls had a little extra in it and they decided just to bequeath that to the district.
Sure.
Yeah. So. Any further discussion on these items? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by, wait, we don't have a motion. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Now that we have a motion and a second to approve the acceptance of these gifts, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next up, item 8D, approve annual business office resolutions for the fiscal year. These are some actions that we do every year in order to allow the front office to keep doing their jobs. I was informed by Todd, who says that Colleen thinks we can do these all as one resolution. I will entertain a motion to approve the annual business office resolutions for fiscal year 2014, which include Resolution 1308, designation of depositories, Resolution 1309, designation of official publication, Resolution 1310, authorization of use of facsimile signatures, Resolution 1311, payment of claims between board meetings, Resolution 1312, combining duties of the clerk and treasurer, Resolution 1313, petty cash resolution, Resolution 1314, investment resolution, Resolution 1315, declaring textbook surplus. I'll entertain a motion to approve those at this time.
So moved.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on any of these items? These are resolutions, and therefore we need to do a roll call. Please, Mr. Clerk.
I will vote aye. Tom Casper,
Aye.
Deb Davis,
Aye.
Yvette Marthaler,
Aye.
Richard Olson,
Aye.
Jerry Robichaud,
Aye.
and Chairman Eggman.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, 7-0 in favor.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Next up, moving on to item number 9, other committee reports. The Insurance Committee has no report this evening. The Wellness Committee has no report. Community Ed and Marie Leland has a report for us.
Good evening. I am just going to talk a little bit about staff transition for the summer. I just went to a goodbye party for those who were involved in the summer CAST program. CAST is our College Ambition Starts Today program. There were 4 individuals, all going on to do great things. One's going to Cameroon as a Peace Corps member, one's returning back to St. Olaf as a student, Reading Corps, and one is going to graduate studies at Creighton, so in English literature, getting a master's and possibly a doctorate. So really good role models for our students. Really lucky to have that staff, and Martha Schultz has been overseeing that program, so just wanting to acknowledge them and thank them for their work. If you're going to, my next thing is if you're going to summer STEAM at all, make sure that if you're just going to the morning portion, the program assistants that are in those classrooms with our teachers are mostly Carleton students, so say hi to them. And they are also leaving us August 1st, the Carleton staff, the community members, and other Faribault Public School staff that have made that program what it is, and it's going really well. Just say hi to them as they're leaving on August 1st, so we thank them. The other exciting thing is that Adult Basic Education potentially has a chance to participate in a systems change initiative called Fast Track. It's Adult Career Pathways. It is something that helps low-wage, low-skilled adults in our community gain access to in-demand occupational career pathways. And it is something where there's potentially $150,000 available to develop new pathways in partnership with our workforce development partner.
and with South Central College. So we'll be meeting tomorrow and talking about potential pathways. It's really exciting to continue our partnership with Workforce Development and MnSCU. So I just wanted to make sure that I talk to you about that and know that we'll do everything we can to get some money in for our 500+ people that we serve in adult basic ed to get them into real life training so they can get good careers. So thank you.
Have you got some examples of what a
Sure.
pathway is?
Something in healthcare is always the easiest one to describe, the direct care route. Most of these individuals will start in certified nursing assistant. That's kind of the first rung of the ladder. They typically make about $10 to $12 an hour in long-term care facilities or hospital settings. They can then go on to become a trained medication aide. That gets them a little bit more money. Then they can go on and get another endorsement like the licensed practical nursing, which is a bigger step that gains a higher wage. But you need to be endorsed along the way, and higher education really holds the key for all of those endorsements. And then the sky's the limit. You can become a registered nurse, and those folks make, I don't know, $70,000 potentially in our region. There's 3,800 jobs projected in Southeast in healthcare. I'm looking at Deb, so she knows all about this, I'm sure, from her pharmacy background. So healthcare is really a big piece of the community. Not that we'll have to just rely on healthcare. There could be a potential other opportunity in terms of a pathway. Energy, agriculture, manufacturing, all sorts of different opportunities. So, yeah. So that's that's the pathway. And in healthcare, there's medical billing and coding. There's other opportunities too.
So, help me understand again now, what are you gonna be doing with this program? You're helping them understand the pathways, or?
Yes, AB, Adult Basic Ed, so our program, Faribault Public Schools, would help design in conjunction with workforce development input and higher education faculty input to design kind of that pre-teaching portion of getting them into that training program more successfully at South Central College. So it's a little more seamless. It's not disjointed, so they'd be learning the vocabulary that they need to that they'd be expected to understand once they got to the college. They'd learn some of those concepts, and then they would be at the college with the higher ed faculty person in the classroom, so that certified nursing assistant faculty, alongside with an adult basic education person, instructor, to make sure that they're supporting that student along the way. There's lots of challenges at higher ed. The developmental education is something within our MnSCU system at South Central and other MnSCU colleges that really kind of weed out students, and there's a very high fail rate in those classes. So we're trying to get students beyond that piece, trying to get them more successful so they stay and they're persistent and they stay longer. Or that's the definition of persistence, but they're retained and they stay longer.
And Marie, was
Yeah.
part of it also, they were saying they are offering some vocational programs
Yep.
at the college, but some people don't quite have the skills to pass the test to get into those certification programs.
Right.
from
So
one
the
of things.
AccuPlacer is the placement test that MnSCU uses across the system. It is a placement test. So you have a score in reading or math, and writing is another modality, where you have to have certain scores, I think an 80 or a 90 in reading, which gets you to credit-based classes. If you don't make it to that credit-based class, you're in developmental education. You're taking remedial ed. You're taking basically what we've taught in high school again. So it's, if you can think of it that way, that layer is really hard to get students beyond and successful in. So if we can do that, which Fast Track, that model is really successful at doing that, we can get students further, farther, faster, and supported with Pell Grant funds, with other kind of funding sources that they need. I know that's a really quick, I used to give major presentations on that topic, so it's a really quick synopsis.
Well, you've probably answered this already.
Yep.
But just to help clarify it, what's the current situation?
In,
We're going to this new system to help them learn these pathways and
Yep.
be more successful and have higher placement rates and so forth. What's
Yes.
the current situation?
in terms of adult basic education students moving to post-secondary,
Yeah.
I can only talk about that as from a state perspective. I don't know Faribault's perspective. It is far and few between that we're moving about 19%, I believe, into the post-secondary system. And when we do that without kind of that more supportive structure, which Career Pathways offers, the system that we're trying to adopt offers, they typically fail, right? You know, their first class, if it's remedial math, they fail and they typically don't come back. So with this program, the state has been doing an implementation study, and it looks like we have far greater success if we do this bridge integrated model. Far more success, and students are actually staying longer. We have enough data now to really longitudinally look at student success. Just ABE alone gets them further.
And I think that's one step, and I'll talk a little bit in my
Yep.
report about the other step that we've been investigating that also parallels that track that Anne Marie's talking about with some of the other pieces that we have, or at least are discovering right now.
And if you guys have any more questions, just give me a call. I can send you resources or more information. So wish us luck. We need to write a good proposal and get some funding for that.
Good luck. Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, moving to 10 other matters. Starting with 10A, approve the revised 2012-2013 Faribault Public School calendars. Schools calendar, so that is in fact the calendar for last year. We're just approving the revisions that were made when snow days were called. So that's, we need to officially approve that. So that's all this agenda item is. So I will entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion on that item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you all. Next, this month we have all of the student handbooks in front of us for each of the schools. We have student handbooks for Jefferson, Lincoln, and Roosevelt, Faribault Middle School, Faribault High School, the Faribault ALC, McKinley Early Childhood Center, Cannon River Education Center, and a Kids World Handbook. So all those are in front of us this evening. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Aye, a second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the handbooks as
Give away my
presented.
vote.
Any discussion on these items? All right, hearing none. I'll ask a question here. So we've talked a number of times about trying to unify the elementary school handbooks.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at them, they are looking to me like they are much more unified. Was that an intentional?
Yeah, they have a summary on what they changed in all of them,
Mm-hmm.
and they should be consistent with all the changes. They should all be
They
the
look
same.
much more consistent to me
Yep.
than they have in the past, so that's a good thing. All right. Any further discussion on these items? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're now on to items 10C and 10D. We can take them one at a time, but they're related to each other. This is the technology plan, the beginnings to a technology plan that we have heard about for a few months now. It is related, the funding for this would be related to a board-approved levy.
Correct.
So that if we were to approve these expenditures, we have been talking about that coming, the funds for that coming from the board-approved levy that we've also been discussing. That board-approved levy is not on the agenda this evening as we're trying to finalize some numbers with that. But this cost is well under what that could generate, so there shouldn't be a concern there. With that, why don't I entertain some motions to approve and then we can open it up to discussion. So starting with item 10C, approve the addition of one FTE District Administrative Support Technician. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Is there a
Second.
second? We have a motion and a second to approve. I'm going to ask a question that we had talked about before. We were going to change the name of that administrative support technician to something else.
You're
Correct me
right.
if I'm wrong about that, right?
No,
Just
I
because this
agree.
seems to give an implication that this is somebody who's going to be supporting administrators only,
We were-
and that's not at all the intention.
Didn't we change it in the explanation, Maria, or what did you? Just technician. Yeah, I think we crossed out administrative support, we had technician. I checked with Nicole, and that was okay, wasn't it? We can cross out the administrative support, and it is just a technician. Yep, that's correct.
All right.
And I think that's an appropriate and an important change in that this person would function in supporting our infrastructure that supports instruction as well as other district operations, but it is not,
It's not
it's
administrative.
not limited in any way to administration. It's a infrastructure technician, for my own terminology.
Any further discussion on this item? We have had this in front of us a few times. There's no further discussion. My mind is slipping. Did we have a motion and a second to approve?
Yes.
We do. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we are on to item 10E.
D.
10D, thank you. 10D, approve implementation of a technology professional plan. Again, part of the same discussion we've been having for a couple of months now, tied in the same way to a board-approved levy. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second? We have a motion. I didn't hear a second.
Sorry.
Got ahead of myself. We have a motion and a second to approve implementation of a technology professional development plan. Any discussion on this item?
I would just say that I really feel that this is an important step in integrating technology into our instruction. I think it offers our staff a chance to be innovative and creative, and I think it's an area in which our district would greatly benefit from.
I have a question. The last work session indicated, Colleen, that there were a number of teachers who had submitted requests already. How many building leaders have we had who submitted requests?
Well, we did not ask our building leaders to submit, to be honest with you. We really asked our staff to make the submitteds. However,
Do you want her to, I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead. Yeah.
Can you come
to the podium? I'm sorry. The microphone.
We did not ask our administrators to submit, we asked them to sign off on what was being submitted. We wanted that to be, we really wanted the proposals to come from our staff, because we want it to be integrated with our students. And so, yes, we had administrators that had a hand in encouraging people to submit. However, all the proposals come from our staff currently.
Good. And that's good. However, I still think there needs to be some leadership in this whole process, and not just signing off on it, actually demonstrating a skill set when it comes to integrating technology in the classroom.
Oh, there is full intention that the training does include our administrative staff, but we did want it to come from our staff. Instead of our principals submitting what they wanted and needed, we wanted our staff to submit at this point. However, the training will be inclusive. So,
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are now on to item 10E. The item reads as follows: approve additional programming costs in the amount of $2,543,386 per year for the next 10 years, with an inflation adjustment each year, as operating levy vote for the November 5th, 2013 ballot. The board has been discussing this, working towards this for a number of meetings now. I think I'll try to say just a few words to particularly bring our audience up to speed on where this fits into plans for the district. This item, if approved by the voters on November 5th, would include a number of programs that have been discussed by the board and administrators. That includes, to start with, 12 staff who are currently reductions and replacing of 12 staff who are currently reduced this year due to the failure of the levy and the need to balance the budget for this year. Those staff include 6 elementary teachers at the elementary level, and 6 elementary teachers, classroom teachers, and 6 elementary specialists. So that includes ed teachers and music teachers and art teachers. So 12 staff, bringing us back to where we were. It includes a significant amount, probably, I'm not sure if it's the majority of it, but the largest chunk of it is for a technology/digital learning piece, which includes the hiring of a number of staff, a couple more technicians, as well as media specialists. Media specialists were something that this district lost in budget cuts going on 5 or 6 years now. I'm sure Mr. Casper could give us the exact date, but 5 or 6 is probably about right. In addition to more money for the equipment and the technology itself to make sure that we can keep up with the latest technology. I think one thing I would emphasize, and I'd welcome any board members to state their opinions on this, is this is not in specific to something like an iPad program. I think that's something that's out there. I suspect there will be iPads purchased. I don't mean to imply that they couldn't be a part of this, and probably will be a part of this. But specifically, the goal here isn't just to buy a bunch of technology, give it to our kids, and expect them to learn better. It's about creating a support system so that we can be at the forefront of using technology to work with our kids. There are some other items in here, and I'd like to mention some of those. There are now currently 4 staff members included in this, and this is something to highlight for the board member because that's a change made based upon discussion of the board last week. Was an increasing in the number of staff, teaching staff going to the middle school and high school. At the last board meeting, that was listed as 1 teacher. That has now been increased to 4 staff. So we can discuss that, but that's a change. Otherwise, the numbers are what they were at our board meeting last week. There's money in here to promote our STEAM program. This summer it's been seems to be wildly successful, and to keep that going and to expand as well. Money in here for for a secondary career. Let me look at that here.
Service learning coordinator.
Well, there's a service learning coordinator in here, something that we lost a couple of years ago, to connect students to workers, to real world jobs and give them practical experiences, as well as money in here for the hiring of staff in the field of secondary career tech initiatives. So things such as robotics, agriculture, automotive, those types of things are the areas that we are looking, those technical areas are areas that we are looking to increase support of, and we have heard from the community many times that they have wanted, so that is a part of it as well. As well as a couple of staff for support services. Typically these would be called, what is the word?
Guidance counselors.
Guidance counselors typically serve these roles in our high schools and middle schools, and we want to make sure that we have the support there that our students and our staff need to to make sure we're giving all students a chance to learn. So this encompasses quite a few things, all of which are things that are important for our students. And now I'll just say personally, I'm excited that this not only for the first time in my time here, we can begin to talk about not just keeping what we have and trying to minimize a loss. This levy could actually give us a potential to move forward and put some services in there that we haven't been able to do, but which I feel are vital for our kids in this community.
The addition of an EL coordinator as well, Jason?
Yes, thank you. As well as an EL coordinator for many years, the number of EL students, that's English language learners, coming into our district has grown. And there's a significant need to coordinate the services that we're providing to those students to make sure that we're giving them the best services that we can and integrating them as best we can into our school district. A couple of other things to note, to put that number of roughly 2.5 million into perspective. The number that was requested last year was 2.9 million. So it's significantly less than it was last time, but with the changes in state funding, we believe that now not only can we keep the things that we've had, but we can continue to move forward with that amount. So that's where that amount comes from. So that's my way of introducing this topic. I'll open the floor to discussion. I'll also state, one more quick thing I want to state. At our last meeting, I know Mr. Olson had suggested that he perhaps wanted to have 3 separate votes on the term, the inflation piece, and the amount. I don't see any reason we couldn't do that. So the fact that it's one item here on the agenda does not preclude us from entertaining that as 3 separate motions if we would like to do so. But of course the 3 pieces are all intertwined with each other. I would also say, and this is important for us as we think forward, we're not quite completed if we take this motion tonight. There will need to be a formalized resolution. In particular, there's a question that we need to settle, which we are still waiting for some information on, which is whether or not we would like to do a revoke and replace or not as a part of this. In other words, taking the levy that we currently have and as part of the vote to get rid of that levy and include it into this new levy so that the total amount would be including of those 2 levies versus just having this levy be its own separate action. Either of those are possible. Colleen and Todd felt like they wanted to make sure that we had some of the tax impact statements a little better under control before we tackle that specific question. But we feel prepared to look at the rest of these items this evening so that we can let the community know what the plans are and begin that discussion in the community about this item. That is my introduction. Hopefully I have not missed important things, but I know I can count on my board to correct me if I have. So with that, I'll open this item up for discussion.
I would just say thank you for going back to the principals and discussing the staff at the middle school and the high school. And I think that was an important addition that people were concerned about at the work session, about keeping the class sizes down and adding the staff. So I think that was a good addition from the work session.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to thank you for your summary here. I think it was quite good, quite complete, so thank you for that. The one thing that I guess I would like to maybe point out that I would like to point out is that not only does this proposal, as it's been discussed, restore some of the personnel and programs that have been cut over the last number of years, and as you say, allow us to move forward. I think that it also provides a sustainable basis for programming over the extent of the levy. one of the downsides to the process that we have gone through over the last few years is the almost up and down roller coaster. And that certainly may continue because there are a number of factors beyond our control. But the levy as it's been described, and as you've described it, I think does provide some stability in programming, in areas of instruction, in areas of service, that the variability has a real cost to the quality of learning in our district. So I think the sustainability aspect of this is very good. In discussions over school programming over the last number of years, the term Cadillac program has been brought up. And I would like to repeat what I think I said at the last board meeting, that I don't see this as a Cadillac program. I see this as a repair of a damaged system. We will now have 4 tires on which to operate instead of 3. We'll have some gas in the gas tank. It may not be full, but it won't be empty. We're still probably driving somewhat of a used car, and some of the damage may yet remain, but this puts us back on the road to delivering quality education to our district. And so I thank all the administrators and all the staff and all the people that have contributed to my understanding of this proposal, and I am hopeful that the community may see the need, should we pass this resolution, to support our students and our staff and our community in this way.
Thank you, Mr. Gasper. Any questions or comments? Mr. Robichaud.
Jason, just a question. We have quite a list of items. Are we telling the public and the residents of this district that should this levy be successful, which we all hope it is, these in fact are the items that will be added back to this district? We're not just throwing this out there as some possibility, but in fact, these are what will be added back.
That is my understanding of it, so we can state that, and I hope that's the understanding of everyone who votes on this item.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just add that I think there's been a lot of work that was put into the technology plan for the school district, and I think that's very exciting, and maybe as part of going forward at one of the public board meetings, we could have a summary or presentation of that plan, because we've seen it, and it gives great explanation to this, what we're spending the money on, what the future could hold. So I would just say it's a great plan, and I think it'll be exciting to share it with the public as we go forward.
I'll just sort of add on to that. We want to make sure that the public understands that part of this money for technology is actually freeing up our operating capital, excuse me, for our buildings and grounds and some of the projects that will be coming up in their cycle also. So it's really a win-win situation for 2 pieces of our puzzle.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. That's a great clarification.
Mr. Chairman, I would add that the Finance Committee has gone through this and looked at it in quite detail. And I would say that it's a very sensible plan, and could even argue that it's a very conservative plan. Certainly not fluff built into it. But I think a big thing that it offers is our class sizes will be manageable. We work hard to hire the best teachers and retain the best teachers, and we really negate that if we put them in classrooms where you've got 35 students, where they have to manage instead of teach. And so I think this really allows us to improve the quality of instruction. I think the technology piece will bring us up to date. One of the staff members said we're kind of a wreck waiting to happen right now. if we don't do something with technology. So all of us know what that's like, that work for an organization where we depend on our computers and all of the other technology that we use. So I support it fully. I think each detail of it makes sense, and it's been carefully thought out, and it's not frivolous.
Thank you, Mr. Modi. Any other comments at this time? I'd be happy to entertain a motion to approve, either together or separate. If we did them separate, I have a recommendation, though the motion maker could choose in the order they wanted to do. My recommendation would be to start with the amount, go to the term, and then the inflationary piece, if we're going to do them as separate pieces. So I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I'll introduce a motion to approve proposing a $2,543,386 levy, operating levy, for the next 10 years with an inflation factor of whatever that adjustment would be. And I know
CPI.
that's- Yeah, CPI.
Okay. So we have a motion in front of us.
It'll be on the ballot November 8th.
5th.
I'm sorry.
The fifth.
It's on the 5th, not
Is that-
November 8th. Yeah.
November 5th.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the amount and the term and the inflationary piece as one motion. Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion on this motion?
I just want to reemphasize that the actual resolution will be in August, so you'll have to do this again with an official resolution.
And at that time, we would also be
The tax
deciding
impact.
on the tax impact would be a piece of that, and
Revoke and replace.
the revoke and replace, and whether or not we would do that would be a piece of that at that time. All right.
And I'd just like to make the public statement that it is my intention, of course, I have no control over what a future board might do, but it would be my intention that, as was questioned earlier, that the funds generated by this levy would be dedicated to the purposes that we have specified and not used for other needs. I think, again, sustainability of programming and of staffing is of crucial importance to the long-term success. And so it is, I can speak for myself only, but it is my approval of this resolution, or my vote to approve this resolution, is based on the intent that the funds be used only for the purposes as we have specified, as best we can foresee, but I have no desire to do other types of things with.
And that's implied in the motion.
Yes. But
Any further questions or comments on this item? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, would you please do a roll call on this item?
I'll vote aye. Tom Casper,
aye.
Deb Davis,
Aye.
Yvette Marthaler,
Aye.
Richard Olson,
No.
Jerry Robichaud,
Aye.
Chairman Ingrid.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, 6-0 in favor, or 6-1, I'm sorry, 6-1 in favor.
All right, thank you all very much for that item. Next on the agenda,
Is it proper to ask Mr. Olson, he didn't participate in the discussion and yet voted no, and I'd like to hear his thoughts.
Yes.
I guess I'll ask him if he'd like to do that.
Oh, no,
at
I
this
will
time.
not want to comment, Mr. Chair.
Let that
Okay,
be. Okay. Item number 11, other items of information. Mr. no student representative here tonight. Any items of information from school board members? All right, items of information from our esteemed superintendent.
It's been a busy summer, and it's been a very positive summer too. We've been doing a lot of exciting things preparing for the school year and investigating and creating some hopefully successful opportunities for kids. I've been attending the fair meetings, and the fair meetings we're looking at, one of the things that have been talked about over and over again is a community center where newcomers can come and we can start something similar to what they've had in the past. And that's been a discussion at the table now for a little while anyways, and we hope to investigate that into more detail. We had our first meeting with Cheryl Hall and our dual special education program with Northfield and Faribault, and so far so good. It's only been about halfway through the month of July, but I'm sure she's doing very well with this whole program. So we'll continue to evaluate and make sure that we're all on the same page. We plan on having those meetings once a month, so we can make sure that Cheryl's able to express her issues or her concerns or anything like that to both the superintendent, so we can bring those back to you. We continue our positive relationships with both St. Olaf College and Carleton College and Mankato State University. Let's see, it's Minnesota State Mankato. I still can't get used to getting out of that Mankato State. Minnesota State Mankato. And developing positive, not only positive relationships with our staff, but also relationships with our students. We had, as Anne-Marie said, we had Carleton students over here. I know we've had St. Olaf students over here, and we've done a lot of good things with MSU. I'm still involved in Faribault Futures, and we're planning on having another class this year, and we're making plans for the Faribault Futures class of 2014 and trying to recruit maybe one staff member from our education community to participate in that. It's a great program. Both Anne-Marie and I participated in it. I'm not sure who's participated in the past on the board of others, but it's a very positive experience. And then finally, I went to Kenosha, Wisconsin last week with Dr. Parker, the president of South Central College. We went to a program to talk a little bit about the NC3 certifications. We would like to maybe pull away from titling our programs that we traditionally called vocational and career tech, and maybe talk a little bit about an MET program, which stands for Manufacturing, Engineering, and Technology. So part of that levy proposal includes $70,000 for some technology, ingenuity, and different things that staff can utilize in order to reach some of those goals for our kids who are maybe going that route or that track, but under the umbrella of manufacturing, engineering, and technology. And this NC3 conference that I went with Dr. Parker and Mark Lessman and two others from South Central College talked a lot about certifications and pathways towards certifications, just very similar to what Anne-Marie was talking about with the health. For example, there are certifications that students could get as early as high school that would advance them to a certain level where they could be certified to do things in the field. And as a broad umbrella, if they have the manufacturing, engineering, the technology component, they could utilize that certification in various areas, various vocations, and make a living. As they progress further and gain more certifications, and automotive is what we talked about a lot through this process, they could attend a 2-year vocational college and still earn these certifications, whether it's certification for torque, certification for whatever the mechanical pieces are for a mechanic. They can now move to another degree of technician. And again, as Anne-Marie pointed out, chances are pretty good that their pay would increase as a result of increasing their knowledge. They could also keep on going if they're interested in the engineering field to go to a 4-year university and continue that track to get their engineering degree through this program that started theoretically at the high school level. So as they gain these certifications and become more and more qualified and more suited to careers that pay more and offer a healthy lifestyle for them. And then they can certainly continue to a master's or even a PhD program. But that's very similar to what we're talking about with Anne Marie's Fast Track program. We're taking it another step and looking at our regular education students going through the program that have traditionally tracked here and possibly expand those programs to the manufacturing, engineering, and technology piece. The levy is very important with that program. We're still going to move ahead, but certainly the levy would help us move ahead in a much quicker pace. Dr. Parker and I have talked extensively about this, and we're going to continue to do that tomorrow. She's very fired up about doing some great work at South Central College that include the automotive, the technology integration, and manufacturing industries with our Faribault campus and also the Mankato campus. So it's a very good meeting. It's also a long drive. It's a 6-hour drive, so you get a chance to talk to those people for a long time too. So we had a good time. And that is all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Sesker. Next, dates to remember, and as I look at these, I'm reminded, we had talked about needing to have a special meeting before the next one. There were some deadlines before the August 26th. And we were gonna put a special meeting in there, and that didn't end up on the agenda.
I believe we had to do it August 19th if we wanted to pass a resolution for to meet the deadlines. Actually, that's for the board approved levy, that we would need that piece in
Yeah.
there.
Would it make sense, I'm gonna throw this out as an idea, would it make sense to take a work session and make that, start that with the regular board meeting so that we don't have to schedule a new time and place?
Sure.
We could see if this place is open, if that's possible. I wouldn't be opposed to having it here instead. How does that sound to that way we're not scheduling a new meeting and we're just changing the agenda a little bit to have a board meeting at the same time before the work session? We've done that in the past in these exact type of situations. Is that agreeable?
I'm sorry. What day are we looking at?
I was suggesting August 12th because we already have a work session scheduled for that date.
That would work better for me.
And that way there isn't a new meeting for anybody, there's not a new meeting for the public to become aware of.
We have a finance committee meeting on the 19th. Was there any reason to hold that after that finance meeting
It would work just fine.
without
Yeah.
doing that?
All the data that we have, we'll bring up at that meeting. It's just data that you need to look at right now at this point.
And I would also suggest that, as I believe approved at our curriculum committee meeting, that we have a meeting scheduled on August 5th
August 5th.
at 3:30 at the district office for the next curriculum committee.
All right, so with those changes, let me go through the dates to remember. On August 5th at 3:30 at the district office will be a curriculum committee meeting. On August 12th at 5:30, place to be determined either at the district office or here in City Hall, depending upon availability. We will begin with a regular board meeting or with a special board meeting to be followed by a work session. The only agenda item for that special board meeting would be to finalize the resolution for the levy we just looked at.
There might be two, with the board approved
Oh,
levy.
I'm sorry, and the board approved levy at that same time. Thank you, Todd, that was
Yep.
important. On August 13th, at 4:30 PM, the policy committee meeting at the district office. August 19th at 7:30 AM, the finance committee meeting at the district office. August 26th at 6:30 PM will be our next regular board meeting, right back here at City Hall Council Chambers. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn from Mr. Robichaud.
Good, we'll get together. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.